And then you can begin your call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
Please. 3, 4, 5. You are live.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a long time since we've been together. It seems like even longer than 2 months, but I hope everyone did have a good holiday season. I know it was not a usual holiday season, but I hope it was enjoyable nevertheless, and you found good ways of connecting with the people that you know and love. So I know we did, and I hope you did as well. And welcome back. And we have a lot of work to do today. I would like now to formally call the meeting to order. And I first want to introduce our new student member of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee, Antonia Oglesby. And Antonio, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you're pursuing in college, etc.?
Sure. Thank you so much. My name is Antonia Oglesby. I am a political science and history major at Housatonic Community College. I will be graduating in May. I've currently been applying to transfer schools and hoping to hear back soon. In the long term, I hope to become a civil rights attorney and eventually run for Congress. And I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love these young women with these wonderful ambitions, and we know there are so many good role models, and you will be successful, I am sure.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to really meeting you in person. I hope. I'm not sure it's going to be before the end of May, though, but we'll see. Otherwise, we'll connect online very, very shortly with FaceTime or something like that, so we can see one another.
That sounds good to me.
I would like, before we actually start on the agenda, I would like to remove one item today, and that is item F under 3 action items, and that is the preferred first name and execution of changes to legal name by students. We had a legal question that was raised just 2 days ago. We didn't have enough time to really fully investigate it. We definitely will bring it back, hopefully at the next meeting, but we want to make sure that legally we're doing it correctly. So that item will be removed today. That brings me to the approval of the minutes of December 4. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. It's Holly.
A second? Regent Cohen, I think you're the one we need to second.
Second. I was muted, sorry.
That's okay. We have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. The consent agenda. There's only one item today, a program discontinuation. May I have a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
A second?
Second. It's Holly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Quickly on to action items. We're making good time so far. The first action item is the continued administration of a gerontology OCP, Official Certificate Program at Central Connecticut State University. It's on page 17 of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Klutznick, who is our guide now, the next few months at least. And could you introduce the item and introduce the presenters today?
Thank you, Chair Harris, and good morning, everyone. Central Connecticut State University seeks continued accreditation of an official certificate program in gerontology. In May 2017, Central became the first university in Connecticut to join the Age-Friendly University Global Network, signaling its commitment to an aging population. At this time, Central's gerontology official certificate program is the only standalone option within the state that serves a growing need. Provost Dowalder will speak to the proposal and introduce colleagues at the university as needed to elaborate and answer questions.
Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, Provost Dowalder was called to a meeting this morning from President Toro and empowered me to introduce the program, if that is okay. Yes, thank you. The Gerontology Official Certificate Program at CCSU was implemented in fall 2017. It is a 15-credit interdisciplinary program that includes 2 core courses in gerontology and offerings from psychological science, sociology, exercise science, entrepreneurship, and English. Although a handful of students pursue the certificate as a standalone credential, others add it on to a degree, most commonly the Psychology Masters of Arts, or complete coursework as part of a track within a degree, such as the Counselor Education with Specialization in Clinical Professional Counseling, MS. According to a recent market position analysis from Hanover Research, there is a strong labor market demand for workers in gerontology, and the demand for the credential is emerging. Based on the strong market demand and the changing age-related demographics within the country as well as the state of Connecticut, we had expected stronger enrollments when we initially proposed the program. But the program faculty have preemptively taken several measures to ensure this program's sustainability. Last year, the OCP was reduced from 18 to 15 credits without sacrificing the standards of quality put forth by the Academy of Gerontology and Higher Education. In fall, you will likely recall that the program faculty proposed to include a hybrid modality to increase the reach of the program to more working professionals. Admission requirements have also been streamlined. And the interdisciplinary nature of the program produces instructional efficiencies where students from multiple degree programs can take courses that apply to the certificate and other degree programs simultaneously. In addition to these structural improvements, program coordinators have forged partnerships with leaders in Connecticut's aging network that propel our efforts in workforce development. Importantly, this program aligns with CCSU's commitment to diversity and inclusion and furthers 2 strategic goals of fostering an inclusive campus culture and strengthening stewardship within the community. As Dr. Klushnik pointed out, CCSU was the first institution of higher education in the state of Connecticut to apply for and receive the international designation of an age-friendly university. Our program faculty are committed to bringing evidence-based programs that promote health and well-being across the state of Connecticut and provide the educational foundation for our students to do so as well. Collectively, these efforts appear to be paying off, with headcount enrollment doubling in fall 2020 despite the pandemic. The Gerontology OCP positions CCSU to offer postgraduate education that prepares workers in the state of Connecticut to meet the challenge, as well as the social and economic promise of an aging population. With me today to answer your questions are Dr. Carrie Andrioletti, Professor of Psychological Science and Coordinator of the Gerontology Program, as well as Fellow of the Academy of Gerontology and Higher Education, and Dr. Andrea June, Associate Professor of Psychological Science and Licensed Clinical Psychologist. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fallon. Are there questions from board members? I have one question. It appears that it's in here that 3 out of 22 possible electives are unique to the program, 2 in the core and 3 in electives. That doesn't make sense. If there are 3, how do you get 2 in the core and 3 in electives? That's 5.
Carrie is responding, but she's on mute, so
Yeah.
give her a second.
I apologize. I thought I had clicked unmute. Yeah, so there's 3 required courses. 2 are unique to gerontology, Gero 500 and Gero 510. Psych 511, the other core course, also serves our psychology department and our psychology students. And all of the elective courses are from serve other programs, except for classes like we have Gero 595. There's some internship and independent study classes that aren't really classes exactly. We can use them if someone is going to do an independent project as an elective, or if someone's offering a special course that would be relevant to our students, we could cross list with another course, but really it's just two unique gerontology courses.
2 or 3? It says here 3 are unique. That was what I was confused about.
Well,
So that might be the 2 core courses, and then that extra class that we were talking about before. That's the sort of specific. It's a Gero designated course, but it's the internship independent study course.
Okay.
So 2 of the courses are required, and then that third one is a unique to gerontology, but it's an elective.
Okay. I guess, are there other questions before I ask anything else? You're pretty confident that you're going to be able to increase enrollment?
I think so. I mean, we expect the trend to continue. We had 3 students just finish up in December, and we have 2 more expected to finish this May, or maybe more. And I know we've already had 2 additional students join the program just this spring, and we expect a bigger showing for fall. But now we're really ramping up in recruitment efforts for the fall. So we expect it to continue.
One of my concerns, and Regent Budd isn't here, so I'll have to speak for her a little bit, is almost always it seems that the projections are wrong. And unfortunately, the projections seem to be that we end up with fewer students than we anticipate. In this case, actually, it shows a revenue loss because of that. And it's not only this program, and I understand during the pandemic, it's even more difficult. So next year, we probably will have some problems still. But one thing is we need to make better projections. And 2, I really do think that once the program is ready to start, or before it's ready to start, there really has to be a better marketing plan, and everyone has to be involved in marketing the program, not just advertising, but really outreach to appropriate organizations and bodies. And this goes across the board, whether it's public schools, if that's the case. Here it would be maybe the AARP and organizations similar to that, because we just seem to be off target all the time, and in this environment that becomes a real question of financial risk. So I just want to make that statement, and it's not only this program. Regent Cohen.
So to follow up on that, Regent Harris, if we approve this, refresh my memory for how long the approval goes?
The approval actually in this case is it gets folded into the university accreditation. I mean, that's generally the way it is. Once a program is accredited, it's folded into the overall accreditation, and that's usually okay. The question is, in cases where low enrollment, if we want to revisit it, that's up to, that's a possibility.
Yeah, we have a protocol for how we review enrollment, low enrollments.
But I believe that's pretty far out sometimes. Dr. Klesnick, can you answer
That's
that?
what I'm asking you.
Yes, so in the academic program review, which requires all programs to be reviewed every 7 years, and most colleges do it and universities do it more frequently than that, there will be a report. And if the program has failed to meet a certain criteria or a certain threshold, that will be included. A low completer report will be included at that time. So there is a process going forward. This becomes part of the regular academic program review process at the institutions. And each time the institutions are asked to report out if it has a low completer status.
So could we say we support this program but need a report in the second semester of 2022?
I think you should, I think you might want to consider longer than that. Again, given COVID, and makes it more difficult to recruit right now. I would say maybe give it 3 years or something like that, or at least 2 years, not 2022.
Okay, I'm for 2 years.
3 years?
What? Two. She was
Two.
Naomi was saying two. I think it's reasonable to look at what the progress is. You know, even though we'll still be dealing with the effects of COVID for a while, I think it'll give us an idea. You know, we've talked about marketing and getting everyone involved and things like that. I think we can definitely see some progress, at least in 2 years, and know that it's headed in the right direction.
Why don't we say that then the fall of 2022, because then you'll have that fall enrollment also.
Right, great.
Will someone make that as an amendment to the motion?
I did, Madam Chair. That was exactly my amendment, and Holly second, so it's going to work out
There
great.
you go.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the OCP program at Central Connecticut State University with a report due in the fall of 2022.
An enrollment report.
An enrollment report, right. 20, yeah, that would do. Okay, that's about.
That's not 2 years, but.
Not quite 2 years. You want to do it in the spring of 2022? That will give
23.
23.
23, right, spring of 2023. Okay, you accept that language then, the spring of 2023? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Let's go on then to the next item, which is the approval. Again, we're at Central Software Engineering, Master of Science, Connecticut. A license program.
I'm sorry, Chair Harris, you moved too far away from your microphone. Could you repeat that, please?
Okay, what we're going to take a motion on approving the Software Engineering Master of Science. That's the accreditation of the Software Engineering MS at Central Connecticut State University. But I have a motion.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Klitsnik, could you introduce the item, please?
Yes, thanks again, Chair Harris. So Central Connecticut State University seeks continued accreditation of a Master of Science in Software Engineering. This is a growing demand. There is a growing demand for software engineers with a master's degree, and this program addresses that need. In addition, with the awarding of a National Science Foundation grant to Central, this program will target supporting through scholarships academically talented and financially disadvantaged students who are first generation and are part of traditionally underrepresented populations. Once again, I'll ask Dr. Marion Fallon to introduce the proposal and then introduce any colleagues who will speak and elaborate and answer questions.
Thank you, Dr. Klitsnik. The Software Engineering MS was implemented in fall 2017 and is the only public option in the state of Connecticut. The market outlook is strong despite these challenging times. Indeed, over 194 ads for software engineers or senior software engineers appeared in the last 6 months, roughly, with approximately 30% requiring a master's degree as the minimum credential. Headcount enrollment, while lower than originally anticipated, remains steady. And as Dr. Klitsnik reported, the program faculty were recently awarded a competitive $1 million NSF grant to support scholarships. And the goal is to recruit students from non-traditional and interdisciplinary backgrounds, potentially increasing workforce diversity in software engineering while meeting the labor force demands. Given the labor market and the scholarship opportunities, we expect modest enrollment growth over the next 3 years. The program has demonstrated financial sustainability by responsibly and creatively developing instructional efficiencies, combining graduate students with advanced upper-level undergraduates where possible and pedagogically appropriate. Further, the program has the capacity to grow in the manner expected with no new required resources. Expenses would scale with increases in enrollment. With me today to answer your questions is Dr. Nelly Zlatareva, Professor of Computer Science and co-coordinator of the graduate program, as well as co-investigator on the NSF grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phelan. Are there questions from committee members? Antonio, I just want to note that if you want to ask anything, speak up, because I can't see a hand raised or anything. So at any time, just feel free to speak up.
Thank
And
you very
same
much.
thing with Kalina. I can't see, if you want to. So if you have a question, please speak up.
Merle, did you hear me? It's Aviva.
Oh, good. Thank you, Aviva.
I've been trying to get in for the last half an hour. For some reason, I can't. And I finally figured out how to call in, and I couldn't reach anybody. I'm sorry. All I could do was hear you. I couldn't speak up, but I found it. Thank you. I just want you to know I'm here.
Okay. Do you have any questions on the software engineering?
On gerontology, I heard you ask one question. I wasn't sure I heard the answer. I wanted to know on gerontology, is there a need for this kind of certificate when it's included in other nursing courses and other programs? For job security.
I can address that a little bit. This is Carrie Andrioletti from Central Connecticut State University. So gerontology differs from geriatrics. Geriatrics is in all of the health professions, the opposite of pediatrics. Our gerontology program is, it's a broader umbrella. Gerontology, we really focus on the psychosocial aspects of aging and aging in context. So we're training students to have a better understanding of aging and what it means to be aging in our society today and in Connecticut, and social policy, the importance of social policy, combating social isolation, community-based programs that, support older people aging and living in place, which is the directions that things are moving. So it's really very different from geriatrics or anything in the health professions. Does that answer your question?
Well, it does, but the other part of the question is that what people need for jobs in this area?
I think so.
Do they need the gerontology more than geriatrics?
Well, I think
the nursing isn't sufficient.
Well, if you're a nurse, I think geriatric, and you have a geriatric specialty, that would be sufficient for nursing. But I think that, there's a shortage of professionals across all sectors really who have expertise in aging. And so, even though people aren't necessarily putting out in their ads saying we need someone who has training in gerontology, we're starting to see that more. But what happens is people in all fields find themselves working in and for older adults without sort of the background or training and understanding what's normal aging versus disease, and really understanding the public policy, or still in these fields with very ageist ideas and beliefs. So I think that our students who are looking to find jobs in the aging sector, having that extra credential on top of whatever their area of expertise is, whether it's business, marketing, social work, this is a way for them to go back to school, get that expertise, and then bring that into the marketplace. So I think there is a real need for it. I mean, the data, we're living longer, and our population is changing. So, by 2030, less than 10 years, 25% of Connecticut's population is 60 and over. So whether you want to or not, people are going to be working with or for older adults in some capacity. So we're trying to, get the state ready.
Not to interrupt you, but how is it that the enrollment is so low with all this need? With this need, I would have thought the enrollment would be higher. I read your material and how you're going to try to publicize and so forth, but it's still, you've had 3 years and it hasn't done much.
Aviva, we asked that question earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't hear it.
I know.
Sorry.
And what we did, the motion, I don't know if you heard the motion. We actually asked.
I didn't. I was trying to log in and change everything, but I didn't succeed.
So we asked for a report in the spring of 2023, which will give 2 years to increase the enrollment because of just that question.
Good. I agree. I was going to say 1 year, but this year isn't good enough because of COVID. So it's one more year would be fine.
That's why. Yeah, that's why we did that, was because of
I
just
agree.
that.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy. Thanks a lot.
You're not, I can't.
Regent Cohen?
Oh, you were muted, so I didn't hear you. I want to ask about the computer program that we're discussing. What did it say in the NSA grant about how you're going to market this?
Well, we have been working with within the university to create a marketing program, and we do expect people, and we have a website which advertises the grant. Actually, the grant is very attractive because it also pays for the preliminary work that students have to go over in order to get to the core courses. This is a pretty
I'm sure. I know that those are hard grants to be awarded.
Yes.
I want to know how you're going to get the underserved populations.
Well, we do have a lot of students, our students, who are really ready to get into a higher level, and they're perfect for this particular grant, perfect recipients, and we actually have a huge underground, CS bachelor's degree students who are very much interested to continue with their master's degree, but of course they do need financial support. So this is really great opportunity for them. And we do have a pretty good, kind of enrollments and interest. One of the issues with this program is that we get people who apply for the program, they're accepted, and then because there are 3 different pathways to get into the program, and 2 of those do not require bachelor's in computer science. So these people who have to take prerequisite courses sometimes realize that it is a little bit more than they expect. So they kind of switch at this point to another program that we offer, master's degree in computer information technology with a specialization in computer science. So there is this, sometimes flow from software engineering to this CIT program and vice versa. We have students in the CIT program that become interested in getting deeper into software engineering. So they kind of switch to software engineering program. In other words, I don't think we have not enough interest. A lot of people are interested, and I'm responding to a lot of people. They find us, they send email to me asking for how they can apply, what the program looks like. Just sometimes it requires a little bit of extra work for them to catch up in order to be ready to take the core courses of the program. So I think that now with this NSF grant, we're able to financially support this prerequisite work that they have to to do in order to get ready for the program.
And where's the outreach to the community college population?
Well, the community college population is transferring to our bachelor's program. So
I'm asking it the other way, I guess. Is part of your marketing to make a specific effort to talk with advisors and students at the community college level to let them know what may be, A, that there is this program, and B, what may be available when they get to university, so that you have a pipeline?
Right. So we do have this articulation agreement, which allow community college students to transfer to our computer science bachelor's program. And at this point, they will finish their bachelor's education and then move on to the master's degree if they want to continue right away, right from after they graduate. Some of them, we have a lot of students who return back to us. And a lot of our former students, alumni are interested to get, especially now with the software engineering program, we had a lot of requests over the years to create such a program. And I think that it came very handy to a lot of people who would like to expand their computer science education towards their master's degree.
But what it sounds to me like is that we don't have a specific marketing plan that translates down to the community college level, other than to tell students we have TAP.
No, because we get a lot of transfer students. That's where we draw a lot of numbers. A lot of students prefer to start at the community college and then come to our bachelor's program. So we have, I believe, 400 plus undergraduate students, and a lot of them come from community colleges. So they're kind of aware of what's out there. They are interested to build career in computer science. So their first step is to get a bachelor's degree first.
But Regent Cohen, your point is well taken, that one of the ways that we could encourage people think the program even before they get to their bachelor's level is at the community colleges, to say that there is this pathway. Once you come from the community college, get your bachelor's in computer science, there is yet a credential that you would then be able to transfer or flow into. So your point is well taken, that we could start even talking about this master's level program at the community college to really start pulling together a beautiful pipeline. So thank you for that recommendation.
I have a question. I don't want to
Regent
interrupt
Bott?
anyone,
Yeah.
Savita, but yeah. You got this $1 million grant. I assume what the prior speaker was saying is, with this dollar amount, there are so many applicants that they can easily fill the 24 full-time or part-time students. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have applicants. We just got the grant, and we will start to offer it in fall 21.
Okay. And I have another question. When you reach out to the community colleges and the underserved and the non-traditional people to let them know, as Naomi proposed, basically, and I think it's a wonderful idea, do you have a chance of getting this renewed? Because if you've got students doing this in your pipeline, those community college students are probably 3 or 4 years away from the potential for a master's. Is this 1 million NSF grant possibly reproduced? I mean, is this just a one-time thing? I don't know much about those kinds of grants.
Well, this was for the very first time that NSF offered money for graduate students. Our department has over, I think has currently multi-million-dollar grant for our undergraduate students to support undergraduate students in computer science, math, and physics. And it has been renewed a number of times already. And this NSF program for graduate students just started. This is the very first edition of it. So we hope, with the experience that we already had in the department, to be able to keep up with this this option in the future.
Good. That's fine. So reaching out to community colleges is really a great idea, because this has a long-term potential here.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I should just say a little bit about this current BS Students Grant, which is in place and very well known to students from community colleges, and there are a lot of students who transfer to Central who are recipients of our undergraduate grant as well. So yes, we are very happy to have this opportunity to offer them these scholarships.
Thanks
Questions?
very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, then I will take the motion on the item, which is to approve the Software Engineering Master of Science program at Central Connecticut State University for continued accreditation. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we're into program modifications. The first is the Nurse Educator Program on page 38 of the agenda. It's a postmaster certificate at Southern Connecticut State University, and it's a modification of the instructional modality. Dr.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I just wanted to ask if there's any interest in taking the next four as a block, since they're all in the same program and they're all exactly the same change.
I think we should discuss them at once, and then we'll just take separate motions for approval in case there are any differences from the agenda itself.
Sure. So what I will do is I'll introduce all four, and
Okay.
then you can go ahead and separate them in the voting process.
Yeah, and I'll take the motions as we move along. Okay.
Okay, very good. So Southern Connecticut State University seeks approval of a modification of instructional modality to add hybrid delivery to the current on-ground modality in four related programs: Nurse Educator Postmaster Certificate and Nurse Educator Master of Science in Nursing, Clinical Nurse Leader Postmaster Certificate, and Master of Science in Nursing. Many applicants to these programs have indicated that an online format is preferred. This modification adds increased flexibility for students. Dr. Trudy Milburn will speak to this request and introduce colleagues at the university as needed to elaborate and answer questions.
Thank you. So as you've heard, Southern Connecticut State University has these four very successful programs to support our nursing education in the state. And we would simply like to increase the flexibility for students and working adults, especially whom are already in the workforce, to take our programs and advance their careers. I have with me Dean Bulmer, who can speak to any specific questions regarding these changes to the modality.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. This will be the quickest part of your agenda, I hope. It's really straightforward. We've been offering these programs more or less with hybrid, especially since the pandemic, because this is what our students have asked us for. So we have both the master's degree programs in these two areas, and we have the postmaster's certificates. So we will continue to be on ground for the practical aspects of the nurse educational programs that need to be lab-based, but the online modality will be how we deliver the educational didactic portions. And I'm open for any questions that you might have. We're just seeking permission to add the hybrid option to this modality.
Are there questions from any of the members of the committee?
Yeah, I have one question. I wanted to know what the current enrollment is now that you have it hybrid. Has it increased or has it reduced because of COVID? What has happened on this because of COVID or because of the online aspect?
So we actually have a very large demand for our family nurse practitioner concentration of the MSN program, many more than we can accommodate, and that's due to clinical placement challenges. Some sites are now charging us as much as $2,000 per student per semester to accept our FNP students in clinical placements. So that's a very challenging situation that all the nursing programs in the state and in the region and quite frankly in the country are dealing with. The clinical nurse leader and clinical nurse educator programs are much smaller programs that we do have the capacity to grow. And this modality, we believe, will help us to do that. We have seen a small increase since the pandemic started, very small with the change in modality. But nursing, especially, that it's a difficult time for them to be taking courses because of their demands in their positions. So I don't think that we have an accurate indication yet of how the online modality might impact people's enrollment in the master's programs.
But before COVID, the nurse educator had roughly how many? What was the absolute, to give me a perspective? I know the nursing program is well oversubscribed and you have to reject people all the time, but I wondered about the clinical nurse leader and the nurse educator. Is that very popular as well?
It is not.
Master's program?
It is not very popular.
Do you have at least 20 people in a program?
At this moment, we do not have 20 in those programs. We have not.
What do you have?
What
is the number?
We have approximately 8 students in the clinical nurse educator program, combining the certificate and the MS program.
So it's a really very small program. And the nurse educator the same?
Yes.
Or less?
We have, I would have to pull that up. I believe the numbers are 7.
And is that are there any operating numbers on it in terms of financials on this program?
We actually, because it's part of the MSN program, the core combines with the FNP students, so there isn't really any extra course costs.
Yeah.
Except for,
well, I'm sure it's worth changing to going more online to increase it. I was just curious to see what we can look forward to in the change. You project anything on this in the future, given you're going online?
Yes, we're working with
assuming COVID is under control, because you don't find a lot of nurses who want to take courses when everybody's dying for them to come to work.
Yeah, it has been such a challenging time for that profession. We are working with our integrated communications and marketing department to market the nurse leader and nurse educator, because those are the places we have capacity. It isn't often you say that out loud with nursing, we have capacity, but those are 2 areas that we do. And I think that, our advantage is that the APRN FNP programs are oversubscribed, and those people looking to get a master's degree in nursing may decide to do the nurse educator or leader because they can't get into an FNP program. It's become very attractive now that people in Connecticut can work as APRNs and have their own practice. Many people are seeking out those degrees. They're just really challenging for us to find additional capacity.
Regent Cohen, do you have a question?
Can I ask, this is very tangential to the question before us, but I'm very interested in your comment that placements I assume that means hospitals, nursing homes, whatever, are charging this $2,000 a student at the same time that we're discussing how we keep tuitions low and not increase fees and whatever. Has there been any conversation amongst the college, university, nursing programs in this state about trying to get that fee lowered or eliminated? It just sounds to me like these places are using it as a moneymaker.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward. It is a conversation the deans and directors of nursing for the state are having. I'm always so impressed at how well they work together, and really, you know, I think it's a tremendous segment of my job as Health and Human Services to see what the nurses do together. The undergraduate program is not doing this. So our associate's degree and bachelor's degree programs are not charging these fees for clinical placements. Otherwise, we'd be broke. They're starting to nickel and dime us, though. They're starting to charge us to do the medical clearance, $20 here, $20 there. It is starting to creep in at the bachelor's degree level. The family nurse practitioner placements, these are different. These are one-on-one precepted experiences that the nurses have. And when a family nurse practitioner hosts that student, they are really having an impact on their work capacity at their healthcare center. So what has happened, ProHealth is the biggest example. ProHealth has started charging this very large fee of $2,000 because the FNP who's hosting our student one-on-one is having a reduced productivity because of their hosting our student. So they're trying to offset a little bit of that cost. Now, ProHealth is an outlier. We hardly ever place a student there unless we have to because the $2,000 is so expensive. Almost everybody else has agreed to a $500 honorarium. And all of the nursing programs in the state have gotten on the same page with that. And so we're trying to hold the line on the $500.
There ought to be a law.
Yeah, I think we have to, you're right. Right now, it's a difficult time to discuss this, but as soon as we get through COVID, I think it may be an important item of discussion. It is, not maybe, it is with the hospitals through the Connecticut Hospital Association, et cetera, to make sure we're really preparing their future employees or improving their current employees. And I think we're really doing them a favor. So that there won't be shortages in those areas in the future. So I think after the COVID, it might be time to have those discussions again.
I look forward to it.
Merle, you're on mute.
I do that all the time because my computer does give a lot of feedback, unfortunately, to people. I think we should take this as one motion unless people want something pulled out separately because they are so much alike and it will save a little bit of time. Does anyone want something dealt with separately? Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the modifications in the nurse educator, postmaster certificate, nurse educator, master of science in nursing, clinical nurse leader, postmaster certificate, and clinical nurse leader, master of science in nursing, all at Southern Connecticut State University. Wow.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone want an item removed? Excuse me, anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So that we have approved all on item 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item is on page 15. 56 of your agenda. It's a therapeutic recreation C2 certificate at Middlesex Community College. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Klusnick?
Thank you, Chair Harris. Middlesex Community College seeks approval for modification, including the addition of online modality, to a certificate program in therapeutic recreation. The proposed modifications to the program are based on feedback from long-term care facilities. To better serve students, the proposal also includes moving the certificate to a fully online version, which includes a condensed format. Dean Mathis will speak to this request and introduce colleagues at the college as needed to elaborate and answer questions.
Good morning, Council. Middlesex Community College would like to present the program modification for the certificate program in therapeutic rec. I have with me Dr. Jennifer Hernandez, who is the program coordinator for both the Human Services program and the therapeutic rec program. We discussed these modifications and made them based on to be able to meet updated program employment requirements, increasing the accessibility of the program for students by making it a fully online program. Also reducing the time frame or the term from the class being instructed from 16 weeks to 7-week format in order to increase the time in which students are able to complete the degree. In addition, this program, since its transition from a previous program coordinator, it was on the line of being a low completer program. So the current program coordinator and I sat together to look at review the entire curriculum for the program and make the necessary adjustments, again, based on workforce development needs, information that we receive back from our employers. We also look to increase the marketability. As you guys have asked many questions about the program, we have a very strong relationship between academic and student affairs, particularly with our enrollment manager. So we've implemented different levels of marketing to also be able to increase the enrollment for this program. In addition, a lot of the program modifications we made and the addition of courses will also allow students who enter this program to also have credits that they can apply to the Human Services program as well. So I now present Dr. Jennifer Hernandez to provide additional details about the modifications.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. This has been actually really interesting. I've actually enjoyed the conversation very much. This modification, as Dr. Mathis indicated, the program modification arrived as a result of a lot of really research in the field, trends nationally, as well as meeting one-on-one with community providers since my appointment in 2017. I will also have significant inserts from our faculty, our adjunct faculty that has been involved with our program and who have a great deal of experience. And furthermore, consultation with Department of Public Health, because this certificate is recognized by the Department of Public Health as a certificate, a workforce ready certificate. In addition, I spoke with a lot of students, current students, past students, and direct care providers. Prior to COVID, I spent a lot of time on Connecticut Shoreline, going from one facility to another, meeting one-on-one with directors of therapeutic rec and administrators in our community. We feel really confident that this plan will contribute to workforce in this area. Our proposal does include adding new classes that really specifically look at direct care with patient care interaction. It's an important aspect of this. And adding these classes are looking for skills, and this is what we heard, that skills that can provide direct care improvement. In addition, we're looking at leadership and development. The workforce is changing, and particularly with COVID, we're going to see once we can get back into the workforce even more so, we are seeing a shift in the directors who are leaving due to COVID and needing a refreshed workforce to take on. Therapeutic rec is continuing during COVID too, so we should be attentive to that matter, that we need individuals who can still contribute to the population. Students will leave our program with skills that can directly apply to their roles. And it meets the needs that the community providers identified. Our strengths do include our connection to our community and our committed adjuncts who have more than 20 years experience in the field and who are actively involved. They care, they're there, and it's really quite refreshing to have their partnership in this work. We also have a strong relationship with DPH. Overall, they're very confident and enthusiastic and have a great deal of trust in my leadership too, as a program developer in my 25 years of experience in grant and program development with much of their work. For example, in 2020, I was recruited through the recommendations of the Department of Public Health to provide, develop, and enhance clinic services for the Hospital of Central Connecticut to improve their accessibility for teens to access reproductive health. Though it is a different population, it does show evidence of their support and their understanding of my capability of developing programs. I also serve on the Department of Public Health legislatively appointed Maternal Mortality Review Board. This commitment again shows evidence of their confidence in my ability to develop programs, assess issues, problems, and concerns, and look for new identifications of practice with safety. Further important to our work and redesign of the certificate is our attentiveness to our needs of our eclectic student population. Given that this this certificate provides an opportunity for immediate employment after completion, it provides our individuals with an opportunity to really set a foundation for their academic goals. This certificate is marketable to a variety of students, including those who are in current positions of CNAs, in addition, first-generation students. This certificate can lay that foundation, as I said earlier, for the academic goals, and the student can obtain a certificate, obtain a job, gain real-world experience, build a resume, and have a stronger foundation for the academic success. And we can help in aiding in developing their professional self. As they pursue their career, we can set that foundation for better success later on. As I reflected too on some of what was said earlier, the CCSU's inserts, the market does have this need for service to the aging population. There's an increasing need for professionals who understand this work, and our certificate meets the needs of therapeutic rec, which aids in the overall physical well-being of the patient, social and emotional well-being, and aids in contributing to decrease social isolation, which is incredibly important for all aspects of life. Additionally important to this certificate is our ability to engage students who have advanced degrees as well. According to the Department of Public Health, students with advanced degrees in related fields can actually obtain the certificate recognition set forth by DPH with just a few classes at Middlesex. This is a unique opportunity for us too, because it draws in more students and contributes further to the employability needs of our community. But it also provides us with a place of enthusiasm for a variety of students. The certificate was definitely developed with the student in mind, as Dr. Mathis inserted. With our online preparation, our online classes are going to be offered in 7-week sessions so that students can come in, get the experience, and get the ability to be employed. Every nursing home in the state of Connecticut requires to have a certified therapeutic rec individual on staff. That is mandated. Finally, our outreach plans, which is important, we've talked a great deal about today, I got really enthusiastic about, because we do have a wonderful relationship with our providers. As I said earlier, I worked really hard to hear what they're saying and what their needs are. We're definitely focusing a lot of our work on the shoreline areas, which is definitely, based on my assessment, been an underserved community area. We're in the process of developing visual marketing aids. We also have a planned community forum for late March, where we'll have networking opportunities for those organizations in the field, with a focus on social services and helping profession. This opportunity will provide the organizations a chance to network, for us to build relationships and to have these genuine interactions that will help to really deliver confidence in this program as well as the human services program. When I speak about excuse me, when I speak about our motive to outreach, there's definitely several layers to our approach. We intend to market the program while building community relationships and field placement sites, which will in turn increase our visibility for student enrollment and student connections. So we feel very confident that with this plan in place, that we will have a successful therapeutic rec program and that we will see increased enrollment. So thank you.
Are there questions?
Hi, good morning. It's Holly. Thank you so much. It sounds like you put a lot of work into talking to not only the people who need these services, but also the people who are interested in taking the classes. And I'm a huge believer of online, so thank you. It's hard to think of 500,000 people dying as having a silver lining, but being able to provide more flexibility to our students in this case may be the only one we have. So my question was, you mentioned that this was an opportunity perhaps for CNAs to get a different certification. So is the financial payback for those students, knowing that unfortunately CNAs don't get compensated anywhere near what they're worth, does adding this certificate add to their ability to earn more money in the future?
Yes, not only does it add to their ability to have to gain more money in their future, but it also provides an opportunity for them to have a career that is not as, let's be real, physical. Okay, physically demanding. And additionally, it provides an opportunity for a career that has movement in terms of advancement opportunities. So an associate, so a CNA can come in, has a love and passion for this population, get a therapeutic rec certificate, begin work maybe perhaps as a therapeutic rec aide, and then move up to a director's position. And that is possible with the certificate too. It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that they're stopping. And so again, my enthusiasm when I was hearing the conversations today was that this is a direct feeder to our state universities that has interested, because we can set this foundation, help the students define success in their certificate, build the confidence and all that. I think that we're going to see that there are going to be students that will desire to go on, but they may not have been provided the opportunity.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Other questions? If a student comes in and takes this certificate, what do they get their associate's degree in so they can move on to a four-year institution?
Yeah, so great question. So the way that the certificate is designed is that they can get the human services degree as well. And so what a wonderful combination. So students start to gain confidence in something that they love, something that feels safe, right? So maybe they'll take, the introduction to therapeutic rec and they'll gain some success in that. And this is what I have noted in my time here, is that students will start to go, okay, I feel a little bit more confident. And so the likelihood with this program modification of more students having the degree in human services and therapeutic rec, I do definitely see that we're going to see an increase in that as well. Yeah, I should add too is that not only, this is a side note too, is that just recently too, I've been doing a lot of work with organizations that do focus on early childhood. My history is early childhood, but I should note too that there is opportunity moving forward for individuals with therapeutic rec to work in other aspects of it too, including group homes, therapeutic group homes, and things such as that. So it's definitely, we're right on the cusp of something really important to add to our community. I feel really excited about it.
Other questions? If not, I ask all in favor of the motion to approve the therapeutic recreation C2 certificate at Middlesex Community College. May I have a vote on that? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Council, thank you.
Be well.
We'll now move on to the suspensions, and the item is the Music Education Master of Science program at Western Connecticut State University. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Klutznick, will you?
Of course. Thank you, Chair Harris. Western Connecticut State University seeks approval for suspension of a Master of Science program in music education. Enrollments in this program have been decreasing for the last several years. A suspension will allow the faculty the opportunity to reimagine the audience for the program in terms of both content and modality. Western Connecticut State University plans to relaunch the program in fall 2022. Provost Alexander will speak to this request and introduce colleagues at the university as needed to elaborate and answer questions.
Good morning. I actually came and let my colleagues have their meeting about their retooling this morning, so I will speak to the details of this. WCSU has just completed its most recent accreditation visit for our music programs, and they are in very good shape overall. However, we have seen a lagging enrollment in the master's degree, and we're taking this opportunity to pause enrollment while we regroup. There are a couple of good areas to look at, one of which is about modalities and whether this should be more of a hybrid program than an on-the-ground program, because it does serve working teachers. Secondarily, there's an opportunity to refresh the curriculum, to bring in some more of our jazz expertise that we have, because people who graduate with music education degrees tend to find themselves conducting jazz bands and doing that instruction at the middle and high school level. And this, we could incorporate a bit more of that in there. And the third question we're exploring is whether there's a broader audience beyond music educators that we could be serving. So we do want to maintain this degree. We have all hopes of having a much more robust plan in another year, because we do have a successful undergraduate educator program. We are, good enrollments, regular graduations. So this is a needed degree, but we're missing the mark and we want to retool. So that is what we're doing here. That's pretty much the long and the short of it.
Are there any questions? I will take a vote on the motion to suspend the Master's in Music Education at Western Connecticut State University. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. The next item is under new programs. It's a program in special education, a Master of Science at Eastern Connecticut State University. Dr. Glisman.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Eastern Connecticut State University seeks approval for both licensure and initial accreditation of a new program, a Master of Science in Special Education. The proposed program addresses an existing need in Connecticut K-12 education. It takes a school community approach along with a unique integration of the arts in special education. Candidates in the program will develop a holistic understanding of special education, thus preparing them to be competent K-12 special educators in schools and in their communities. Provost Salka will speak to this request and introduce colleagues at the university as needed to elaborate and answer questions.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good morning, Regents. As Ken mentioned, we are proposing a new 30-credit Master's in Special Education. I apologize for that. This program is specifically designed to help address the long-standing shortage of special education teachers in the state of Connecticut. The shortage has persisted for many years despite efforts by the state to increase the number of teachers out there. This unique program is really designed to attract more students into special education. And Eastern has many undergraduate teacher candidates who are interested in the program as well. The program is expected to produce revenue for Eastern even in the very first year. If you look at the budget, you will see that the startup costs are minimal. We do not have to hire any new faculty to provide this program. And in fact, one of our faculty, half of her time will be devoted to this program. That's where the expense for the full-time faculty comes from. And we will need to hire one part-timer each semester to cover an additional course. We have very conservative enrollment estimates, and even with those conservative enrollment estimates, we are predicting to have revenues almost double of what the expenses will be in the first year, and then have revenues continue to grow after that. So here with me to help explain the program in a little greater detail and answer any questions you have is Dean Elizabeth Scott, Dean of the School of Education and Professional Studies, and Dr. Sudha Swaminathan, who is the chair of the Education Department. Dean Scott.
Thank you. As I'm sure you know, the statewide shortage in the area of special education is severe and persistent. Title II reports show that the educator preparation programs in the state of Connecticut produced only 180 special education program completers in the 2018-19 year, while our Jobs EQ report shows over 700 ads in the field seeking teachers with special education certification during 2020. According to the Rockefeller report, there's an alarming trend of inequity, such that for every 49 new students needing special education in high poverty districts in Connecticut, there's only one new teacher, whereas the same ratio in low poverty districts is 14-1. Eastern wants to help address this problem. Eastern has excellent faculty resources to teach the required courses. We have a new early childhood faculty member with special interest and research in autism, and a tenured associate professor in the elementary and secondary areas with special interest in curricular integration and in including communities, social services, health and therapy resources, and families in student support. These faculty designed the program with two things in mind. First, they wanted to leverage their own skills and the space available in courses already offered in our graduate programs. And second, they wanted to offer something different from the other options around the state to appeal to potential applicants who were not already finding suitable avenues to acquire the necessary skills. The first distinctive characteristic of the program they designed is that 80% of the program is online. This means that candidates can complete their coursework without commuting and at times of day that work for them. We expect this feature to draw in candidates from across the state who are working full-time and find it difficult to attend on-ground courses. The second unique characteristic is our curriculum. We offer two courses that set us apart from other programs in the state: Special Education and the Arts, and Interagency Collaboration for Students with Disabilities and their Families. These two courses give students in our program more tools to obtain access to resources that can make their job as special education teachers more effective and can make it less prone to burnout, thus reducing turnover among them. We teach our students to work with social services, speech and physical therapists, families, and all of the systems surrounding K-12 students in special education. Finally, our practicum is the only portion of this program that is on ground, in the home, community, and school settings required to support the whole student in a special education program. However, the unique characteristic of our practica is that they are in the candidate's community, engaging with the social services, schools, and other organizations there, thus allowing students to complete even these experiences without needing to commute to Willimantic. In summary, there's a severe and persistent shortage of special education teachers that we can help address with our existing faculty and our unique curriculum. With me today is Dr. Sudha Swaminathan, Chair of the Education Department. Please let us know if we can answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions at this point? I had asked one question. I know that we have programs at the 3 other CSU institutions, and my only concern is that if we draw students to the Eastern program, which I think having it online is a wonderful idea, will we weaken those particular programs, or are we going to have problems in the future that we should monitor and make sure that those programs are not severely under enrolled?
So our hope is not to do that. Our hope is to expand the number of students who are actually going to be special education teachers, because if we just cannibalize from the other schools in the system, then we're not helping with the problem. On the other hand, if we can demonstrate with the curriculum we have or the approach we have that this helps special education teachers function better in their environments, we might have a model that other schools can adopt. But overall, we want to increase the total number available to teach in our schools.
And Regent Harris, if I can jump in, we did look at the enrollments at the other CSUs, and they're quite strong at Central and Southern. So I believe there is enough to go around, enough demand to go around.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, I believe we do have a motion, Pat, is that correct? Yes? Okay.
I was muted. Oh, no, I don't think we, actually don't think we do.
That's what I thought. That's
Yeah.
why.
Okay, so moved.
So may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're muted, Merle.
Thank you. The next item is mid-year tenure recommendations at Southern Connecticut State University. There is one professor recommended. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any
Second,
questions?
Aviva.
Thank you. Any questions? A vote on the motion. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the item that we removed at the beginning of the meeting. So we'll go on to item, G is academic program approval policy, and there are a few changes in our current policy. I just would like to highlight one of those changes because I think it's important for all of us to know that how we are responding to some institutional requests. Shortly after the Board of Regents came into being, we added a concept paper because programs were not being approved late in the process, and a lot of work was done, and we felt that it was not a timely disapproval process after all that work was completed. We required a concept paper that goes to the academic council, and if it's approved, the institution goes back and fully drafts the proposal. However, some institutions feel this step takes additional time and it does not allow them to respond as quickly. So this change will allow an institution to not introduce a concept paper, not send that to the academic council first, but do a full proposal. It's the institution that's requesting this. They will decide whether they want to introduce the concept paper or not. So it's really addressing a request from the institutions and allowing them, the institutions, to make the decision of how to proceed. With that, let's turn this over to Ken Klutzenik to explain the other changes.
Thank you, Chair Harris. The other two changes are really just an attempt to align with current practice. The description of the process for College of Technology programs replication was not accurate to what we actually do. So this simply updated that process. And the other one is there were some confusion about the requirements for below threshold program reporting, and the changes just clarify the requirements for below threshold reporting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, I don't believe I have a motion on this one either. Could I have a motion to approve the academic program approval policy?
So moved.
So move, Aviva.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
from Holly and a second. Either way, from Aviva. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
You're muted, Merle.
Hello?
Merle, Chair Harris, you are muted.
Yeah,
There
I
you
am.
go. Okay, okay.
Oh, yeah. What recommendation? Let's see. Did I skip something?
No, we're on informational items.
Right, we're on the informational items that don't need approval. That's what I thought. Okay, we're on informational items. These do not need approval, except I would like to add one thing. Under sabbaticals at CSCU, we had received information from Central Connecticut State University. It did not get posted, unfortunately, and we discovered we had it. And so I will it's an information item, so it doesn't need any vote. I will just quickly read the names, and these will be included in the record, so we will know that they did come before the committee. So at CCSU, approvals for sabbatical leaves are Helen Abadiano in literacy, elementary, and early childhood education, Stephen Adair in sociology, Marian Anton in mathematical sciences, David Blitz in philosophy, Daniel Broiled in history. This one I'm never going to get right. Saurav Chakraborty in chemistry and biochemistry, Cecilia Chen in computer science, Diana Cohn in political science, Cheryl Crespi in accounting. There are a few more, quite a few more. Theodore Efremoff in art, Bob Emiliani in manufacturing and construction management, Timothy Garso in geography, Vincente Garcia in art, Ivan Gotchev in mathematical sciences, Drew Harris, management and organization, Michelle Cusilia in accounting, John Petrano in sociology, Barbara Nicholson in biology, Elizabeth Olson in English, Oscar Perdomo in mathematical science, Linda Reeder in manufacturing and construction management, Louise Williams in history, and Leanne Zaluski in art. So those will be added to the record of excuse me, for Central Connecticut State University in sabbatical leaves for 2021-2022. And I thank you for your indulgence, but we wanted to make sure that that did get read into the record. Does anyone have a question on any of the other information items, A, B, or C? Okay, then we will go to item D, an update on Connecticut State Community College Student First initiatives. Every one of our committees over the next few months will have, I'm sorry, it's getting.
Merle, you got muted again.
Crazy. We'll have updates on various aspects of Student First. I will report briefly on those at the board meeting, so all the board is aware. If someone wants to get the full story, they will be able to look at the recording of this particular session. but we really think it's important that we are knowledgeable of what is happening based on what did happen and how we are going to move forward. So I'm excited about some of this information, and I'm sure that we will have questions from many of you. Dr. Cousins, do you want to introduce us?
Sure, I'll just give a brief introduction and then I'll allow the team to take over. So the update is going to cover 4 areas. One is the alignment of programs, one is shared governance, one is strategic planning, and one is service level agreements and enrollment management. So I don't know who wants to start, but I'll ask the members as they speak to introduce themselves and introduce others who will speak. Okay, so Dr. Rosselli will be our first speaker.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Harris and Regents, and thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an update on our curriculum alignment efforts for Connecticut State Community College. I hope you all received the handout that we put together and had a chance to at least skim it. I'm just going to highlight a few things from that. And I want to start with really the scope and context of this work. All right, so our 12 community colleges have 12 different catalogs. Altogether, we offer about 650 associate degrees and approximately 350 certificates. Those are not really 650 different degrees, though. There's considerable overlap. So, for example, if we just look at our TAP degrees, right? When those TAP degrees were created, there was a section of the degree that allowed campuses flexibility in putting in requirements. So instead of 1 TAP degree, we really have 12 for each of our disciplines. And with 20 some odd different disciplines having TAP degrees, you know, that's about 300. 300 of those 650 are just our TAP degrees. If we can align those, that'll come down to just 20, Ken, it's 27, 26 degrees rather than 300 and some odd degrees. So the goal is really to create a single catalog for the Connecticut State Community College. That catalog needs to be live no later than October of 2022 so that students can begin applying for Connecticut State Community College to begin in the fall of 2023. And in order to have a catalog ready by fall 2022, we need to begin the back end build, the banner and the catalog work, hopefully this summer, but no later than fall 21. The back of the handout kind of steps you through the process for this work. And I will warn you that most of our faculty are, we're still in stage 1. We're still in the faculty preparation stage with groups of faculty meeting to look at the different programs that exist across our campuses, to take those programs that have already been reviewed by this committee and approved and create a single version out of them. We have about, so stage 2 is a review of proposals by our transitional committees. These are temporary committees that exist for the transitional time between the 12 community colleges existing and the single college existing. We have an aligned program review committee called the APRC that is going through all of the proposals in detail. We've currently reviewed about 6 or 7 different programs. We've got another 15 or so scheduled for the next few meetings, and we'll be meeting twice a month throughout the spring semester. We're hoping to get to about 50% of all programs by the end of this semester, and then the other half by the end of fall 2021. Those 6-7 programs that we reviewed went to the Students First Academic and Student Affairs Consolidation Committee. Models are following the TAP. All programs, all associate degree programs will go out to all the campuses for an endorsement vote and for feedback. And that way, everyone, right? You know, we are faculty scattered across 12 campuses, but we're going to all be one functioning unit. And so we really thought that it was important that everyone have a voice in the curricular process, and that's why this endorsement is a critical part of the process. We'll follow whatever local governance procedures exist at each campus. We have our APRC reps who will handle a lot of the logistics of that work, getting the information to the campuses, collecting the feedback, and then we will review all that feedback to determine if the proposal, if there are any objections to the content of the proposal, if the proposal needs to go back to faculty for revision, or if it can move forward. If it moves forward, it continues through those transitional committees, and then through CSCU notification and through board approval, and then eventually with board approval to our external agencies and to our internal teams to start that catalog and banner build. I did ask two of our faculty members, Professor Rebecca Riss-Brown from Middlesex and Dr. Carolina Flores from Manchester, to share their experiences with this process so you can get a feel for what it was really like to do this work. So I'm going to turn, I don't know which of them is going to go first. Maybe Rebecca, you want to start?
Sure. Thank you everybody for having us here. So I kind of led our criminal justice work group in this process. When we first found out about this process at the, I believe it was the Manchester meeting, I think it was 2017 or 2018. Thank you, Mike, for confirming that. I'll admit we were a little overwhelmed. But as we move forward, we had started to align some of our curriculum already, knowing how beneficial that would be for students. And when we really had to tackle it and we inventoried all of our classes, we realized we had 121 classes that needed to be looked at. And that was a very daunting task. So Mike Emanuel and I actually met with Mike Stefanowitz, and we met with Fran, and I think Pat was there too, and Sue. And this was over last winter, and we really explained we can't do this during the academic semester. It just is this requires so much attention to detail. We need to do it off contract, and just it's going to be a lot to do this correctly. And Mike and Fran were so receptive to our needs, and they worked with us. So over this past summer, we ended up, Mike Emanuel, myself, and Katie Kleiss, we took all 121 courses, we reviewed them. We deleted 50 plus courses, got it down to about 70. We rewrote our criminology TAP pathway so it better aligned with our criminal justice program. We rewrote everything. We wrote 4 new classes, which we're very excited. Will be a criminal justice.
That's me.
But we're very excited. We wrote 4 brand new criminal justice courses because we actually added our own diversity requirement for criminal justice students. And we, in the fall semester, we hard charged. We had meetings every other week. They were very strict, like get all this stuff work, and we had everything approved and to Fran, I think by right after Thanksgiving. And our final report was 293 pages. If any of you want to read something over the weekend, let us know. But it was, we looked at it as a very positive process. And right now, I just got out of a CJ meeting. We're actually starting the articulation agreements with our 4 years, UNH, so on and so forth. We're already starting that process now. So everything will be implemented by catalog.
Thank you. Carolina. Carolina, you're still muted.
Oh, I think I was muted. I am so sorry. Thank you so much for having me. I am a professor of music, and I agree with everything Rebecca said. I came into this process a little bit later. I didn't come in till November, as far as like the being the representative, but I agree with Rebecca. There's no way that we could do this work during the academic year. I worked on the music program, and we worked on the alignments, and it's completed. I'm sure it'll need some revisions, but it was a great process. I found a couple of difficulties with this kind of work. One was that we didn't really have access to all the syllabi. That is really difficult to get access to that. Even when you ask to the people that supposedly handle archiving the syllabi, that made it really difficult for us to include every single course because, I mean, no one is an expert on everything. So that was one of the, I don't know if that can be fixed going forward for other programs that are coming down the pipe. That would be wonderful. And there's a lot of information that is just really hard to get to. Like, for example, if I need to provide information about what extra fees a specific class might require, I've been asking several people and nobody seems to know. I don't know where to get that information, and there's so many changes right now. I don't know where to ask anymore. So these are some of the things that we're dealing with that I just wanted to make you aware. That said, this work is wonderful. I've learned a lot, and honestly, it's just going to provide really the equity for all the community college students that we really need. I would like at some point to sit down with the four-year schools also, so that these programs are really truly aligned with their programs and that is very easy to transfer. Because right now, I talk to my colleagues in the four-year schools, and that's how I find information, but it's not really an official way of doing things, I don't think. So I would like to see that moving forward. I guess, Rebecca, you guys are doing transfer agreements, articulations. Yeah, we've done a few for a music program in the past. But that's pretty much what I have to say. I'm just excited to continue this work. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you of that. First, I would like to thank, let's see. No, first I have a question before I forget about syllabi. I thought it's a requirement that syllabi be posted for every course so that when a student wants to register, they have the access to what is in that course so they'll know if it's appropriate for them. That was back about 10 years ago, I think that change was made nationally, I believe.
Yes, it is. And then they all should be posted. The problem is that I wasn't even able to retrieve them. I'm faculty. I had no access to whatever they're supposed to be retrieved. So that makes this work very, very difficult. I ended up contacting some of the music faculty that I actually knew and said, can you please give me your syllabus so that I can move forward on this alignment? But I don't know everybody in the system, so I was a little bit handicapped there.
Yeah, and my staff and I really tried to assist in that, reaching out to academic deans, and I will say, I was not aware of that requirement, Dr. Harris, but it certainly in practice has not lived up to that. It has been very, very challenging. In some campuses, it was actually easier. The syllabi are posted online and we could easily access them. In other cases, we had to go through administrative assistance, and sometimes faculty didn't submit them. And it really is a challenge. It's one we're still working through. I will say, though, for Connecticut State, the plan is to have curriculum software that will really alleviate the need for this kind of, calling people and tracking things down. Everything will be in a single repository and easily accessible to all.
Francine, I want to thank you for that wonderful graphic. It's very easy to follow. I first saw this in narrative form and I got completely lost. And I said to Ken, maybe we should have a graphic. He said it's already done. So thank you. It is easy to follow.
Sure.
Questions from committee members of Francine or Rebecca or Carolina? No one has a question? Okay, Kalina.
Hey. Hi. So I think I have just three quick questions. So Rebecca and Carolina, you both said that it was a lot of work that couldn't really be done, while you're actually teaching classes and so on. So I was just wondering, have all the programs had the opportunity to get this work done during breaks, and has that really happened, or is it planned that everyone will have that opportunity, or were these particularly difficult ones?
So if I'm Rebecca, if you want to answer, but the opportunity was offered to everybody at the same time. So yes, everybody had the opportunity to do it over the summer had they chose to join. The issue is that not everybody chose to join, and now they're finding out the hard way that they need to get on this, and I'm not sure how they're gonna work it out. But yeah, the opportunity was offered multiple times, with plenty of time for this work to be done when we're not actually teaching. Right, Rebecca?
Yes, and actually in our work group, it was only, well, actually there was 3 of us and an adjunct who volunteered, and then the adjunct kind of didn't communicate with us. So then it ended up being Mike Emanuel, Katie Kleiss, and I, who basically did all the I want to say the paperwork. And then in the fall is when all of the CJPCs, with the exception of one, started reviewing the material. So yeah, the work really did need to be done during the summer when you weren't interrupted, because it was very detail oriented.
Yeah, it's super detailed. There's a lot of templates and stuff. And for us, we found ourselves just 2 of us doing this work over the summer. And our report is not as big as yours, Rebecca. There's about 170 pages, and it's detail. And like Francine said before, there's so much duplication of things, and you have to read every single outcome, but the opportunity was there for everyone.
I will follow up on that, because one of the things we learned from Rebecca and Carolina and the other faculty who worked over the summer was the inordinate amount of time that completing the paperwork required. And so one thing that we've been doing is trying to pre-fill those templates as much as possible. So cutting and pasting descriptions from websites and things like that, so that faculty, with the limited time they have, can get to the important conversations and not spend time filling out paperwork. There are some things that obviously we can't fill out that they have to do, but as much as possible, we're trying to alleviate some of the burdens and allow them the time to really delve into the curricular issues, to really have conversations about what are the appropriate outcomes, what are the appropriate prereqs, and so on. So we have definitely, the process has evolved as we've been working through it and learning lessons.
So, and thank you. But I guess what I was asking was, I mean, I was thinking both of those questions are interesting. Not as much whether everyone who, had whether everyone had the opportunity to work in these work groups, but whether all the relevant work groups have had the opportunity to have this time with their programs, or will have this time with their programs. Like, I know that CJ has, I know that music has, but there are, I don't know how many hundreds of programs we're going to end up with. So have they all, gone through this program? We've asked, so I've asked Dr. Levinson before, but I didn't get a sort of number or, idea of how many people are involved.
So we took those 650 degrees and we combine them into what we call discipline or program groups, right? So all of the business and accounting degrees in a single group. And we have about 90 of those groups. Now, some of those are relatively large groups like criminal justice, where we have programs on almost every campus. Some of those groups are really just a single faculty member when we're dealing with a program that exists at only one campus. I would say we have about 45 of those groups that are in what I would call an active state. That is, we're communicating with them. They are, working on their curriculum. They're in touch with us, or we filled out, pre-filled some templates for them and are waiting for them to find time to review. And then we've got about half who have, of the remaining half, I'd say about half have been active previously, But this is one of our challenges is staffing. We have not had the staff to support those groups. And we do have a schedule planned for spring of reaching out to those groups, and probably about a quarter that we've reached out to and just never heard back from. And so those are some of our challenges going forward, is to increase our staffing so that we can support all the faculty who want to be involved in the work, and to do more outreach to the faculty who have not been involved in the process and have not responded to our inquiries.
And so thank you. Another question I have is just, that workflow is, it's impressive to look at, but I'm also thinking about like the schedules at all the different colleges. So, most colleges have this process where things will go from department to curriculum, etc. And it seems that it might be difficult to accommodate that kind of workflow within this workflow. And there's also the issue of if not everyone has worked on this, there might actually be substantive feedback from these colleges. So it's a really ambitious timeline. And I'm wondering how you're going to accommodate, the level of scrutiny different colleges might want to give these things.
So I think there's sort of two answers to that question. The first is that the endorsement is not the first time necessarily that we've asked for feedback. So we've recognized that because of the climate and the circumstances we're in, some of the curriculum that's been drafted has been drafted by a subset of faculty within a discipline. So it may be that 3 of 7 program coordinators actually did the majority of work, and others were not initially involved in that process. So during that stage 1, that faculty participation, there's a feedback loop built into that. So nothing goes forward to APRC without being sent to every relevant program coordinator for feedback. They may provide feedback at that point, they may not. We give them about a month window, say, here's what's been drafted in this area, please provide feedback, please join us in revising. And then, sometimes that does produce additional input. Sometimes it doesn't. So there's an initial feedback loop that comes in stage 1. Then in stage 2, when this is reviewed by APRC, that's the second point of feedback, because that committee does look at things very, very carefully. And so the campus endorsement is really now our kind of third set of eyes. We recognize that we're asking campuses to turn these things around very quickly, and that might require alterations to their normal meeting schedule. It might require a special session, but this is where we are at this point. We've had a number of unanticipated delays in this work, and we are now at the point where we need to move this forward, or we will not have a catalog for 2022. So we're hoping campuses will work with us to, and have input in this process. But we need to keep moving forward. Mike?
Yeah. Hi, Fran and Colleen and everyone. I just wanted to add one thing. And as Rebecca mentioned, I will remind folks that we kicked off this alignment work starting in fall of 2018 for many of the areas, especially areas that had TAP pathways at that point. And then in the spring of 2019, we had 3 rounds of kickoffs of this work. So we are approaching a point where we do need to move this along to get through the various governance layers that you see on the chart. And folks have been working on it to various degrees. As Fran said, we understand that there are folks who have chosen not to do the work, but the work does need to continue. And while I agree it is an aggressive schedule, or a tight schedule at this point, to get the programs in, to get them approved, to get them built, We're in the midst of starting the building the single college banner instance, to get Office of Higher Ed approval, to get financial aid approval. There's a lot of things that have to happen on a tight timeline at this point. I guess the phrase I would say is things are getting real at this point. We really need to move this along. Not that we certainly don't want to shortchange input and feedback, but we feel like there's been lots of opportunity to gather that. So I'll just add that as well.
Can I comment real quick? On a practical aspect, when Mike, Katie, and I wrote all the outlines, none of us have a law background. So it's law enforcement, homeland security, so on and so forth. So when we brought our certain law classes to our CJPC group, those faculty members with the law backgrounds read those outlines very carefully, and actually they asked, can we modify them to make them actually work a little better? And we said, absolutely. So actually, if you read our proposal, we now have hubs of excellence for specialties within CJ. So certain campuses now, and that was a way to keep also a little bit of our identity as individual campuses. So some of the campuses are designated as Homeland Security, law, I believe I'm forensic science and law enforcement based on our individual backgrounds. But I mean, we can look at these documents over and over again as CJPCs, and we start to get the glazed over eyes, and sometimes we don't even see our mistakes. So when we brought our proposal to ARPC, it was great to have a totally neutral set of eyes that had never seen it, and they saw some stuff that we didn't see either. One of the challenges is we forget what's common knowledge for us on our campuses that other campuses don't know. And that's a great thing about ARPC is you have a totally different group of people looking at this going, hey, isn't this a selective admission process? Don't you need to put that in the course description? Fran's laughing about that because that was one of our conversations. So really the feedback has been very powerful.
Thank you. Rebecca, you answered a question for me, and then I'll return to Kalina. My question was how you are allowing for differences on various campuses, and you just answered it in regards to CJ, so I really appreciate that. Kalina?
I was just going to add that this seems like a perfect time to have universities in the conversation. And have they been thus far?
Yes. So all of our drafts were sent to the same individuals that were part of the TAP pathway. And we sent them the new TAP pathway criminology draft. We didn't get any feedback from them, unfortunately. Actually, we just sent over to University of New Haven the new draft program that was approved by ARPC and by Students First, and they're already looking at it, and we actually have meetings already set up for next week to start looking at aligning for articulation agreements with the University of New Haven. And to Dr. Harris, your point about the hubs of excellence, we plan on transitioning that also into advising because I know nothing about corrections, and one of my colleagues up in Asnuntuck has a background in corrections. So we look at it from an advising perspective as well for student success, that we want to send you to the correct hub for your career goals. So that aligns also with guided pathways.
So I have not met with anyone from the four-year schools, which is what I mentioned before, that I think it's really necessary. What I've done in order to do this alignment for the music program, what I did is a lot of research, looking at their websites and looking at course descriptions from multiple courses from the four-year schools, and making sure that our objectives were matching those in the catalog of the four-year schools. That's how I approached this alignment. It would have been a lot more fun to meet with my colleagues and talk about it. Probably a quicker process, but I think in order for that to happen, there needs to be a process, or I'm not sure. You know what I mean, right? it's not just me, hey, let's talk about this. I think there needs to be something official that needs to happen there.
And I will just add one other thing we are doing is for, particularly for all of our TAP programs, but for others, if they are interested, is involving Steve Marcellinus, our Director of Articulation and Transfer, has been reviewing a lot of the aligned curriculum to make sure that we didn't miss any transfer issues.
Yeah, so for me it was easy because our music program, or the music program, exists in the college where I teach. It's actually nationally accredited. It's the only music program accredited in the state of Connecticut, the 2-year that is. So a lot of the alignment with the 4-year school happened years ago while I was trying to get this program nationally accredited. And during the summer, I just basically had to review and make sure that things were still indeed aligned with the 4-year schools. But I feel I feel confident, but I would still love if my colleagues in the 4-year schools had a chance to look at this and to provide feedback, because yeah, we all miss stuff.
Thank you. This has really been helpful. We see what the good things that have happened and the problems that you're facing. And I think we need to continue to be updated on this process, perhaps after the spring, or after the summer, I guess, because most of the work will be done in the summer, I assume, next summer. But we will continue to get updates, and if there's anything you need the board for, I'm sure you will tell us as we move forward. I just want to assure everyone that if we don't get through all the reports today, we'll put some of them on another agenda, but we want to move forward to the next one. Ken?
Thanks, Chair Harris. I'm afraid I don't know the order of presentation, so it looks like we're going to go to a shared governance update.
Yeah, it's Mike. Mike's next.
Mike.
Yep, sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you, and it's good to see you and hear you. And Happy New Year for those of you I haven't connected with since we've been back. So I just want to provide a brief update on where we are with our shared governance proposal. We did attend a meeting in the fall. Professor Eleanor Bloom and I joined and shared the proposal and where it was at that time. Just to remind everybody, the shared governance proposal was sent out to the community college community, everyone at the community colleges, on November 23rd. And public comment was open via a Microsoft web form until December 31st. And certainly any of the committee members were accepting feedback as well. And we've gotten feedback since December 31st also. So we received comments via the form. We also received comments at the FAC report at the December board meeting. There were some comments about shared governance that I pulled out to share with the committee as well. And we have a series of meetings scheduled to review that feedback. We met last Friday, and we meet again this afternoon. And then we have next week off because some of the campuses are closed with President's Day, but we meet again on February 19th to continue the process. So we scheduled 3 meetings very quickly because we were hoping to have an update for a NECHI report in March. And we felt that it was good to meet quickly and review all the feedback. Some highlights of the feedback that I'll just share with the group. There was an organizational chart which was included in the proposal, and we received some comments about programs that may not have been listed on the org chart or concerns about the org chart. We're certainly sharing that with management who are in charge of that org chart. The shared governance proposal doesn't actually address the organizational chart, but that page was included because the proposal referenced some things like areas of study and associate deans and deans. And we wanted to clarity, but we have received some feedback and we're forwarding that on. We received some feedback concerning or questions about whether faculty were in fact a majority of voting members. If you do the math, faculty are a majority on the Curriculum Congress. However, we have received some feedback from some colleges that perhaps that body should only have faculty voting and not have non-faculty members vote on the Curriculum Congress. Just to share with this group, we've done a survey. 9 out of 12 of our current colleges have non-faculty members on a curriculum committee, and they do vote. Often this is something like a person like a registrar, a transfer counselor, sometimes a financial aid representative. That's very common in our current governance structure. And that's why the proposal included a majority faculty, I think 2/3 faculty, but it also had some CCPs, community college professionals, or non-faculty. But we will be talking about that some more today. There was some, and I will just say that another item related to that is whether curriculum should go from the Curriculum Congress to the full Senate for a full approval, or whether it should go directly to the college administration. The proposal outlined an appeal process, and I think there may have been some misunderstanding from some folks looking at the proposal, but it was not intended that all curriculum would move from the Congress to a full Senate for kind of a second vote. Interestingly, some of our colleges do this, some of our colleges do not. The ones that do have a full Senate vote, all of them do include non-faculty members. So CCP professional staff do vote. So those are the types of things we're looking at, very important things. But again, one of our guiding principles certainly is that according to NETCHI standards, curriculum is the primary domain of faculty, right? We have to have faculty clear majorities on the curriculum committee. And then we also had some feedback about just the pure number of representatives. In other words, is 24 people enough on a curriculum committee for a college which is statewide and has hundreds of faculty and staff? And we'll be looking at that again. So I mentioned that we're meeting again today. We're meeting in 2 weeks. The goal is ready to have a final proposal wrapped up and ready to go to each college for an endorsement vote in March. Following, again, similar to the way we did the general education core and similar to the way the TAP pathways have gone and similar to the way we're doing our aligned programs. And my goal, I would hope that we would be able to come before this body or the full board in May with an update on where that proposal stands by the end of the semester. So happy to answer questions or hear feedback or comments.
I will just give one comment and then I'll call for questions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we need to try to do is to make community colleges as nimble as possible and not make it so that it takes years to get a program approved. And therefore, I think unless there is an appeal, having the approval go from the Congress up makes sense to me, because if you add another step, it's going to delay the whole process 2-3 months because of timing, and that to me is a problem. So that's just my comment that to feed into the other comments that have been made.
Yeah, that was a discussion the committee had. There were folks on the committee who were aware of that and brought up that same point, especially for workforce development programs that are responding to kind of immediate industry needs. That we do need to keep that nimbleness and flexibility in place, but also recognizing the governance structure that NETCHI requires for our credit programs.
Right. Questions?
just to make a comment. It does seem that I remember when Ellie presented it, I think she and I had the same reaction. Why doesn't the Senate come into existence at the same time as the curriculum committee? And it does seem like it would, why doesn't, did I say that right? One comes into existence before the other. And it does seem that that would streamline the process significantly. So just thought I'd mention that again, especially since I didn't reply to you before, Mike.
Oh, yeah, our intention actually, just to clarify, and where we're working through a document that explains kind of when these governance bodies need to be in place. And, you know, starting in the fall of 22, so the academic year 22-23, programs that are being proposed for the community colleges will really be Connecticut State Community College programs. There'll be one college programs. So our intention is actually to hopefully kind of start staffing and populating the committees in spring of 22, and then and so that they can look at bylaws and talk about operating procedures. And then our at least one proposal is that both groups would start up and start working and kind of having authority in fall of 22 and spring of 23. But the flow would be, to your point, Kalina, the flow would be first to curriculum, the curriculum committee.
I think everyone can see this is in process, and it's important work, and I think that there will be continuing comments, and I'm sure Mike will welcome those comments until we get to the end point. So this is probably this is critical for both NECHI approval, but also we want to make sure that we develop a system that gives faculty the appropriate voice as we move curriculum along. So I really appreciate everything that's being done. And there's room for more comment. We have two more reports, I believe, Ken?
We do, and I'm going to guess that Dr. Milner is next for strategic planning.
Okay, Dr. Milner.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I am going to be brief because I'm sure Dr. Buckley needs way more time than I need. And you guys probably want to get out of here before 2 o'clock this afternoon. Where we are in the strategic planning process is we've designed guiding principles that are based on our Connecticut State Community College mission and vision and the BOR goals. What we started to do back in the fall was review that mission, review the vision, review those goals, and to also review each of the 12 community colleges, strategic plans, their institutional goals and objectives, to try to find patterns that were similar, that were repetitive, and we could use to formulate the beginnings of a strategic plan and process for the one college as we move toward the merger. This work comes out of the last NECHI response, that we needed to have a clear-cut strategic plan for the one college and a clear-cut process as to how we go about formulating that strategic plan, who's all on the committee, how we choose the folks who will be representative of each of the 12 campuses and all of the areas that are important to the operation of each campus, as well as the one college. So after we moved to, after we moved from all of the review, we came up with findings and, had conversations with President Levinson and Provost Rook as to whether or not these were appropriate, shared the themes and principles with the Connecticut State Planning Committee that I believe is led by Alice Pritchard and Ken Kluznik and the rest of the team, discussed the principles with Dr. Levinson's extended cabinet, and have begun to share the guiding principles with the SFASA, CC, and the CCIC for feedback, commentary, for volunteers who would like to move the work forward, and then shared the principles with Dr. Gates to make sure we were in perfect alignment with what the regents, goals are, as well as what the 12 community colleges goals are. So where we are right now is we have 6 guiding principles for that strategic plan. The first is equity, inclusion, and college culture. The second is students' access, support, and success. The third is enrollment management. The fourth, academic innovation, institutional effectiveness, and professional growth. The fifth is stewardship, affordability, and sustainability. And the sixth is workforce development and community engagement. Each of the 12 community colleges had a semblance of the similar types of goals. And like I said, they're aligned with the community college, the Connecticut State Community College's mission and vision to provide access to academic rigor, innovative education, training focused on student success, and aligned with our ultimate vision to be recognized for exceptional student success, educational leadership, and transformative collaboration with our community partners. So right now, those principles and the process lies with the campus CEOs who've had the ability right now to attempt to choose folks who will begin to populate this executive strategic planning council for the Connecticut State Community College. We've outlined about 20 areas that need to be represented by that council, which of course includes the one college's cabinet, institutional researchers, parts of academic affairs and EMSA, financial and fiscal affairs, DEI and Title IX, workforce development, B&I, business and industry, of course, the SFASA CC group and the CCIC group. We've certainly included faculty, probably 3 times as many faculty members, students, 3 times as many students, maybe 1 from each region. If we're fortunate to be on this council, a regional president, a campus CEO, a person who represents development and advancements, human resources and labor relations, the Student Success Center. We would certainly love to have one of our regents be a part of this council so that they can get to see how a strategic plan is formed by a community college. We have volunteers from information technology, and we are looking to invite external partners from the community to engage in this process so that, all of our stakeholders know what the merge looks like, know what the strategic plan will look like, and will help us sort of flesh out actionable items. Hopefully this work will be done within the next 6 to 8 weeks, so we have an update for April that will go into the update letter in response to the NECHI report. So we're looking forward to this. I gave the CEOs an extended deadline to February 19th with the hopes that the initial council members will begin meeting by the end of February, beginning of March, so that we can have something, a draft in writing by the end of March, beginning of April. I passed on the information to FAC. I passed it on to several of our SGA members in hopes that we could find faculty and students who would like to serve as a part of this council over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And the rest of the work that this council will be doing hopefully over the next 2 years is creating not only actionable items we can share with NECHI in April, but also create a process and a plan that guides us through the next 2 years, and that will eventually guide Connecticut State Community College for the next 5 to 10 years as we revisit this strategic plan, hopefully as frequently as some of our exemplar community colleges do, such as Miami-Dade, Lone Star, these system community colleges that review their strategic plans, yearly, instead of allowing them to sort of sit on a shelf somewhere or in somebody's computer, gathering dust and not ever looking to see if the actionable items were actually met, measured, and then, continue the iterative process in order to improve on, what those goals are, were they met, what do we need to do in order to meet them, or have we met them and we need to increase our goals. So that's where we are today. I'm awaiting feedback from each of those groups. I've gotten positive feedback so far, and I'm looking forward to any comments and questions you all may have this morning.
Thank you, Tanya. Are there comments or questions? Or you're just waiting for the next iteration? Okay. Then we will ask questions as we move along. Thank you very much, Tanya. I know it's 10 of. The one thing that I hope that you might address is the reorganization and reporting, and then maybe we could use time next meeting for other items, other areas. Is that okay?
Okay. I'd be happy to do that, Regent Harris. Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Buckley. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs at Connecticut State Community College. And I just wanted to provide an update, as I believe you all saw earlier this week on Wednesday. We announced that we would begin the gradual transition to the Connecticut State Community College structure by moving the direct supervisory lines for the campus lead, typically a director, for the departments of admissions, financial aid, registration, advising, and the deans and directors of enrollment management to the functional associate vice presidents in the Connecticut State Community College structure. So just as a refresher, that is Dr. Gail Barrett for registration, Tamika Davis for admissions, Mike Buccilli for advising, and Steve McDowell for financial aid. We're implementing these changes by written arrangements or service level agreements between Connecticut State Community College and the individual campus. So that's the how. This is really just a change in supervisory lines. We are not implementing the final Connecticut State Community College structure at this point. We know that many of our staff work in more than one department, work in more than one functional area. And so between now and March 26th, which is when this change in supervision would go into effect, the Connecticut State team and the individual campus presidents and CEOs and regional presidents will be having some conversations about which functional department and which reporting lines make the most sense for that campus. The other thing that I'd just like to say, so the Connecticut State team, the regional presidents and the campus presidents and CEOs have been working together on this for several months in thinking of a way that we can gradually start this migration so that it's least disruptive. We've decided to move forward at this point for three main reasons. The first is we know that the merger is a big change, and we felt that by doing it gradually over time and in phases, it would be less disruptive for operations for our students, and honestly, less disruptive for our staff. I said when talking to folks this week, imagine what July 1st, 2023 would be like if everybody is in a new spot all in one day. And so we have a 30-month runway, and we would like to use that where we can while we still maintain the NETCHI accreditation standards for each of the individual campuses. The second reason we're doing it now is many of our colleges are very resource constrained. We are starting to hire, in some cases, dual positions, which is fantastic. But it's very tough if you are a department of one person to get the necessary work done that has to be done to serve our students. So by pooling our talent and working together, our goal is that we can be more efficient while living within the realities of our budget. And then the third reason why we decided to make this move now is certainly enrollment was facing some pretty severe headwinds prior to COVID. And I don't think it's an understatement, I don't think I'm overstating it to say that the pandemic has really triggered an enrollment crisis. And it's imperative that we really start to articulate some benchmarks and departmental performance measures to improve our enrollment outcomes. And that will also be a way for the campus leadership to have confidence that this is working for their individual campus. As I said, we announced this now so we can have the conversations about it and be transparent that this is coming. It will go into effect at the end of March, and I will be happy to come back and provide further updates as we roll it out, if that is helpful. Happy to answer questions now, too.
Yeah, we have time for some questions. Board member
Merle,
Viva? Yeah.
and Naomi. It's
Where are
Naomi.
you?
Oh, here I am. Wait, here I am. Giving my husband his shopping list for the supermarket. I would like to know how many people are involved.
So that is a good question. The distribution list that we sent right now for staff who would have a new supervisor is 54. I expect that number will change slightly. There are several positions that are open at the moment. And so for example, Quinnebog Valley and Three Rivers are currently searching for a director of admissions, a combined position. So there is not a single director. So we included the admissions staff so they were aware this is happening. So we anticipate it will be about 50 people will have a new supervisor.
And is it fair to say that all these people retain their same level of compensation, tenure, and all that?
That's an excellent point that I should have stated. This is just a change in supervision. There is no change in job title, in compensation, and in job duties at this point. We're not implementing an end state structure. We are sort of just the existing teams, we are assigning them into functional teams that will persist in the future state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I have one. Well, yeah, one. just wanted to ask about, part of the reason for the change is that many colleges are under-resourced and we have people filling more than one position. But the level of change that you describe right now really doesn't answer that need. It really just is reporting structure. So, I mean, there is great need at the colleges. Is this a structure that allows for more resources, what at the places where students are eventually?
Yep. So as part of this, I think that's a great question. And if I could answer in two parts, certainly part of where we are moving with advising, we will be hiring more resources who are working with students, significantly more resources that will be reporting in. And I should also specify the timeline is March 26th. For advising, we will bring advising into the service level agreements as we bring on guided pathways. So we will phase it as those colleges come on board. So advising is a little different. And also because they are, will have so many more resources. I do think that by pulling a team together and really pooling some resources, we can relieve some of this administrative burden. And I'll give an example. The Department of Education places pretty significant, when you are a one-person shop, requirements on consumer information every year. And that is the information that we are required to either mail a direct one-on-one communication with a student, the communication we must have up on our website, and it is always changing and always evolving. It would be much easier for a financial aid office that has one person if Steve McDowell could sort of put that all together for everyone and for his team, and to also make sure that we're providing the training so that everyone is aware of what our requirements are. So we'll do this iteratively, but really I think it will also help us, and having the staff together as a team talking about processes and procedures as we can streamline together, I think it will be very, very helpful.
And I'll just mention also, I think we're all dealing with a lot of disruption at the moment. So more shifting parts is certainly making people anxious. And, we also dealt with an issue with IT recently that affected all 12 colleges. And one of the things, I mean, part of it was just purely sort of structural and, but part of it was about communication, certainly, and the difficulties of communicating when the institution is so large. So I want to suggest that at every step in the process that there is communication in both directions, because when you're immersed in the change and understanding why things are happening, it all makes sense. But on the ground, it just feels like the world is shifting under your feet. So if we could just keep those lines open and clear, and the justification coming, I think that will make a huge difference, because the lived experience of it is it's dramatic, right? So and we're already dealing with students, so I think that will be important.
And I take that point, and it is why we want to start helping by doing this gradually. I do want to share, because I completely agree that communication is fundamental, and I want to share with the group a little bit on how we rolled this out, which was challenging, but it was very important that the first communications about this change were done in a, as best we can, face-to-face way. So prior to any written communication that went out, anyone who had a change in their direct report lines had a chance to meet, and that meeting also included their campus CEO, President Levinson, and me, and we answered questions. It was a 45-minute discussion. We did the same with anyone who was having a new supervisor, and we got questions right away I did share with the group, I'm the kind of person who would probably need 48 hours to digest it and then come back with questions. And then we had regional meetings for all enrollment management staff. So the first they heard about it was a person talking about it and talking about the why. And then we rolled out a written communication. Following up on that for all the people who may be a little more like me and need time. So next week, we are meeting again with councils of those who are impacted. So we're meeting again next week with folks with a new supervisor, with those who had a change in reporting line. I'm meeting with the academic deans. We have a communication plan that takes us really through April. So even after the change is implemented, where we are having meetings at the regional level, at the campus and college team level, and at the functional level. So there are a series of cadences. And also with those on the campus who are not impacted by this change, because we really are starting to articulate what our organization will look like and building some long-term robust communication vehicles. So that is paramount, and really why we wanted to talk about this first and then roll it out so that everyone is participating in this conversation. So thanks. That is a very good point and really important.
Merle, can I ask one other thing?
Sure.
Colina, my question is actually for Colina and Allison. What kind of a mechanism exists, or does a mechanism exist, so that out of Allison's unit could come official communication to the FAC leadership, which they could then distribute to all their members so that everybody's hearing the same thing and the correct thing at the same time?
So what we did for the communication is President Levinson sent out the announcement to all community college staff. And at that same point, we have a frequently asked questions document that is on the website. It was a first round of questions as we talked about this with the presidents and the CEOs and the regional presidents, sort of what we thought, the common questions. That will definitely evolve as I have more, and I've had some come in, and we'll keep that updated. But President Levinson's email was really the way that we tried to make sure that there was a common message that went out to everyone in other divisions.
Kalina, do you want to answer that as well? It was addressed to you too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in terms of, so yes, that email went out, and I guess, and people who were affected, that had that human communication first. So that's wonderful. That's great to hear. And I think down the line, as we do this, we should have these conversations about what's most effective, because I think it is important that you have these unified single communications where the message is clear and everybody got the same message and it's accurate, etc. And yet at the same time, there's also a need for a feeling of sort of closer connection, right? We're used to looking to someone right on our campus that we see every day who delivers us these messages. So that shift is different, and change is hard. And yet at the same, there's a whole new culture that we need to adjust to, and a new communication process. So I think it will be interesting to see how this unfolds and continue to have a conversation about what the conversation should look like down the line, right? But yeah, absolutely. And I didn't know about the sort of more personal background stuff, so that's good to hear.
It was a real team effort, I will say, to coordinate trying face-to-face communication with everyone as close as we could to the same time. So it was the CEOs and their teams were involved, the regional presidents. I owe a huge debt to their administrative support to get everyone there. And Pam Helene also was tremendously helpful in helping us think through this communication. I do know Lee Appleby has asked David and me, and I think I would like to have the associate vice presidents do some videos as well. So it's sometimes a little better than just a frequently asked question. But we'll be doing that too. So we're trying to, I think this is the first one, we're trying some different vehicles for that communication.
Merle, you're muted.
I had unmuted myself a minute ago. I don't know how it remutes sometimes. I thank you for Allison for this topic, and I know we'll see you back because there are many other topics under your jurisdiction, and we look forward to continuing the conversation on many of these things. And I hope, I'm sure the FAC in its meetings will also discuss some of this, and I hope that those comments will be brought back to the presenters today. And also, if there are things that the full ASA needs to think about, to the ASA committee. Anything else someone wants to add? Okay, then I will ask.
We adjourn?
Yes, yeah, a motion to adjourn.
I move that.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Have a good month, everyone. We'll see each other in a couple of weeks at the full board meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate what you presented today.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Girl. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.